Lots of people start up companies because they think they have something, and they may have something. It's largely a project, not necessarily a corporation.
Welcome to Real Leadership, the show that cuts through the clutter to spotlight leaders who make, move, and process things in the real economy. This isn't about buzzwords or theories. It's about bold decisions, solving challenges, and the strategies driving industries that matter. I'm Jim Weaver, CEO of the Owner Group. In every episode, we get real about what it takes to turn vision into action and obstacles into opportunities. Let's go. Today, in our ongoing exploration of tech in the real economy, I'm pleased to introduce my friend Mike Oakman. With a career spanning nearly 3 decades, Mike has worked across technology, operations, and customer experience in both corporate and entrepreneurial settings. He began his career managing international projects with Command Alcon and went on to hold senior leadership positions with SunGard as COO, MedSeek, Influence Health, and most recently as CTO of RVO Health, a division of United Healthcare. What's striking about Mike is his wide operating range. He's a guy comfortable with scaling early stage businesses, but also has thrived in senior leadership roles in large, complex organizations. His big company roles have included Chief Operating Officer, Executive Vice President, and Chief Technology Officer, where he oversaw initiatives in enterprise systems, clinical delivery, and digital marketplaces. He's also developed expertise in Lean Six Sigma, strategic planning, and customer performance, applying these principles in diverse organizational contexts. Beyond corporate leadership, Mike has been a catalyst in the startup community. As co-chair of Halo Ventures, a business incubator in Hoover, Alabama, he supported the launch and development of technology startups in areas like AI, operations, and cybersecurity. Since exiting RVO in late 2024, Mike has been doing some very interesting AI market research, which we will discuss today as he plans his next adventure. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, well, how was that intro? Did that work for you?
Thought it was an amazing intro. Didn't even realize it was me.
You know, the cool thing about you, the fascinating thing about you is kind of the arc, or it's kind of 2 arcs of your career. Twice, you've come into companies, early stages, helped to scale, had a succession of buyouts that you kind of survived and thrived in, ultimately landing you in C-level positions in large organizations. The first go around was SunGard,
right,
where you were COO, and then you had a similar pattern landing you the CTO position with RVO Health, and that's the most recent big company job you have. You've since stepped down, but just to set the context, tell us about that position. Tell us about RVO, what you guys did, kind of the scale and scope of your position when you were with them.
So RVO is the largest health and well-being platform in the United States. Think about this. 70 million people access the website every single month.
70 million?
70 million. Think about the scale of that. And the brands that make up Healthline of RVO are things like Healthline, Health Grades, Medical News Today, Psych Central, The Greatest, Bezzy. These are some of the biggest brands in the world. And under the CEO's vision, Jeff Halleck, he brought all these brands together under one umbrella, RVO Health. Working with Optum and United Healthcare, we brought in other brands like Optum Perks and Optum Store, focusing on health prevention and wellness. It's really amazing company. They do amazing things. And it goes down all the way down to like a micro scale where it's personal. My mother, who was, when she was 55 years old, she died of stage 4 colon cancer. And I was 35 years old. I was the CEO at SunGard. We were doing great things. We were almost at the end of our LBO. It was an amazing time. But at any time in life, there are good things that happen and there are bad things that happen. And my mom got stage 4 colon cancer because her primary care was racing around chasing, copays. And under the leadership and vision of Jeff Halleck and Optum, what they did, they brought these technologies together to reach out to people like my mom. And at that intersection of marketing, healthcare, technology, they reached out at a very personal level to connect them to the right doctors, the right information at the right time, to help them make that right decision and really get involved and get engaged in their own healthcare. And since then have saved thousands and thousands and many, many lives by being and committing and investing at that intersection of healthcare and technology. That marketing and the technology that RVO built and amassed through those brands like Healthline, Healthgrade, literally saves lives every day. So it was a great place to work, and you could really get behind the mission every single day.
Yeah. That Optum app, we've talked about this. I just checked it yesterday. Just check my HSA balance, you know, because my wife's doing something next week. That's a great app. I'm one of the 70 million that access it for sure. All right. So your role as CTO in that context, what was the vision for your role? What were you there to accomplish as CTO?
As CTO, every day, it wasn't just the CTO. It's not the CTO or the CEO or the COO. It's every single person at RVO Health. Like, what we came to work to do every single day is focus on the consumer journey. So if we knew that if we made that consumer journey simple, that experience amazing, then people would believe that they could really harness and engage and shape their own healthcare. So, you know, that adage, experience drives beliefs, beliefs drive actions, actions drive results. We knew if we created a good experience that those beliefs would follow, we get good action, people would take action, and we get good results. And so as the CTO, it was important first that the consumer journey was simple and the experience was amazing. And then second, it's secure. So we focused on security and we focused on that consumer journey every single day, making it safe, secure, and then scalable such that anybody could do research on, you know, their colon or a knee injury or an ankle injury or a rash.
So it's a technology company. And the CTO position is pretty important in a technology company, I would think, pretty central.
Yes.
How do you, in that type of role, you got that many people visiting, you're bringing all these companies together. How do you practically think through what to work on, what to hit first, how to chunk it down, how to manage outcome? Give us a little insight into how you think about what's your framework for thinking about that stuff?
It's a good question. Like, the framework for what we did at RVO from a technology perspective really began with the consumer and the consumer journey. So if you just think of yourself, you know, as a technologist, as a software engineer or an architect or a QA person, or an AI guy, a data science, all you have to think about is the consumer. And the consumer showing up at one of our properties, Healthline, Healthgrade, Psych Central, and the consumer saying, I'm here. Do you see me? And if we recognize the consumer, say, I am here, and we say, we know you're here and we hear you. And we then would personalize that experience. So we built some proprietary technology throughout our websites that would literally personalize the consumer journey. And it would spawn a new website, new content, new words, new verbs, new actions, new content, new call to actions, real time. So your journey was truly personalized.
So you're watching their behavior to gather that information when you're on.
We're watching,
or is it feedback, or is it?
Yes, exactly. We're watching their feedback. We're watching their clicks. We're watching their behavior. And the whole goal is to answer their question, is to say, we recognize that you're on our property and you matter. And so people would come back over and over. Hence, 70 million people, you know, hundreds of millions of clicks, if you will, every single month. It was really important to us that we become their trusted health partner and that we were their advisor and that they trusted us. We were aligned with what they were focused on and what they were searching for, as opposed to a static website. So if somebody came in looking because they have, you know, diabetes, we didn't want to send them to colorectal info. Does that make sense? We wanted them to like absorb and learn and know, and then not only that, connect with a group. So through Bezi, we would connect them with other people in their own community.
Okay, so translating that to execution then. So were your projects driven around features? Like, okay, we're seeing this behavior. We need this feature. Let's get this group to work on this. Was it feature based, or is that a good way to describe it? Or how would you describe it if not?
I would say that it was more measurable outcomes versus features.
Okay.
So, when you're dealing with that many people, when you're dealing with 70 million, interactions, it's really about the journey and the workflow. So understanding the workflow of, when people come in, start their search, begin their journey, looking for the information. Over time, our data sets and the data science learn what that workflow looks like and what that journey, and we could lead them, through that journey. It's called like next best action. And so we would serve up what we thought was the next best action to lead them to an outcome or a result, or, whether it's a piece of information or whether it's a community to join, or connecting them with a provider, connecting them with the right provider, because not all providers are the same. And so we wanted to connect them with the best providers, and that's the name of Healthline. So the brand name Healthline was just that. We wanted to create a straight line from where their problem is or what their search is, straight line to the result that they need, whether it was a provider or a piece of information or a community or a newsletter or content that they needed to help them engage in their own healthcare.
How big was your team, your tech team?
We had almost 300 plus engineers and 60 data scientists and, all the people that you would think in terms of QA and, support. And so it was close to 400 or 500 people.
Modernization, integration, infrastructure, AI readiness. Onin Technology helps industrial IT leaders build momentum without the resume bloat or vendor babysitting. We deliver talent vetted by real subject matter experts, scoped project teams built for results, and consulting from tech leaders who've done the work. Contract to hire, direct hire, or statement of work, we do what fits. Ready to move? So are we. Visit onintechnology.com.
How do you move a technical team like that forward as a unified machine, and sometimes you can get lost and you can lose the forest, in the trees and stuff if you're working on technical things. So how do you effectively as a CTO move a technical team like that forward together in lockstep?
On a daily basis, we have agile frameworks that we follow. So the engineers were in their daily rhythm, their daily ceremonies where, the work that they designed, and they work shoulder to shoulder with their managers and their release train engineers and their senior architects. So they would sort through the technology and how to implement and how to construct and how to engineer the best practices, world-class practices that are scalable and secure and, meet those standards. The most important thing for me and also the senior leadership team at RVO was something we called the Engineering Summit. So once a year, we would bring all engineers, every single one, to the corporate office in Charlotte, and we would have a lot of fun. But most importantly, we would set the agenda, set the vision, just reignite their energy around what we're trying to accomplish that year around the consumer journey, and remind the engineers that we were there for consumers. Mm-hmm. We were there every day for people like my mom and people, for your aunt, your uncle, your sister, your brother, your father, your mother. We were there every day, and that was our existence, was to make that easy and to get people engaged in their own healthcare, because it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that. You're seeing it globally now. You'll see there's a health wave, across, I would say, the planet at this point, where people are really engaging, including myself, engaged in my health in a new way.
You mentioned you use the agile framework. This is not typically a technical podcast.
Yeah.
So explain that. Give us the layman definition of what the agile framework is. I know our IT group uses it as well.
Yeah.
But just for my sake to get it into my head and for everybody listening.
You're really trying to age me, aren't you? Huh? That's what you're trying to do. Yes, I'm 54. Yes. So when we first started in technology, back in the day with mainframes, VAX, local area networks, computer science was new to, lots and lots of people. And you had to follow what we used to call waterfall methodologies. And so the leadership team would design a vision for, their software company because they wanted to solve a certain problem. And then that problem would be broken down into technical functional requirements, and then those functional requirements would be broken down into technical design documents, and then those TDDs, technical design documents, would be given to the engineering team, and then they would further break those down into, practical work, and then they would start coding, and then we would do testing, and then they would do an implementation, and all that sounds like a lot. And that sounds like 6-9 month project, right? And that's a waterfall approach. So it takes a long time to see any value. With the Agile framework, there's a term, in technology, we have a lot of acronyms. One is called CI/CD. And that CID is continuous integration, continuous development. And with Agile framework, everyone gets involved in the company. And the goal is to publish software daily for continuous integration and continuous deployment, where you're using an Agile framework, functionality, value, all of a sudden starts to show itself every single day. And then you can pivot, you can adjust. So a lot of businesses have adopted the Agile framework because they see something as valuable or not valuable. And if it's not valuable, they can pivot. And if it is valuable, they can do more of that. And they don't have to wait 9 months for this waterfall approach to see something at the end that's something they wanted but didn't need. And so now with the Agile framework, you've broken that work down into, we call it slice and chunk, right? So you have this really thin slice. Think of it as sand going through a funnel as opposed to big boulders. Yeah. And so now this sand just flows through the funnel, and at the end of the day, you're in your factory, your engineering factory, and you see value come out at the end of the day. And if you as CEO see that value, you're like, oh, this is good or this is not good. And it really means just that. So you move from like this big boulder, big high-tech, long project, and you break it down to this little bitty piece of sand that flows right through the funnel, and you see that piece of value every day.
You log in today, and there's a new feature.
Log in today.
Oh, that works a little different today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a shift that we as an organization are adjusting to, where it's we're not waiting for the big launch, and here it is. It never ends.
That's right.
Iteration never ends. It's constant improvement. Yeah, that's cool.
You're right. It never ends, and that's why we invested in the annual engineering summit. That really brings the vision back together. We would have a lot of fun in that summit, and we would talk to consumers, and we would talk to managers. And the engineering team wasn't just the factory. They were a part of the company, and they're making a big difference. And they could see they were connected to the vision, the mission, the mode, and the value that they were delivering. And they were connected to each other. And in this world today, in this remote world, being connected is so important. You've heard that adage, everyone communicates, few connect. But when you connect, you'll go the extra mile, you'll do the extra thing, you'll work late, you'll do what you need to do and go beyond. Yeah. So it's super important for us to be connected internally as a team and then be connected to the consumer.
And we tend to underestimate, we have to, as leaders, constantly go back to what are we trying to accomplish here? Back to the customer, back to what it's easy to think, well, we already said that and move on and everybody knows, but we got to always get back to it.
You're so right. When everyone doesn't know or understand the why, the common reasons and why they're included and why they're on this mission, when they forget that why or it gets clouded, that's when companies they stall. Or, maybe even go out of business. But the companies that know their why, and when people are bought into the why and they all have that common reason, you can just see those companies that are connected to their why. They just forge new paths.
That actually leads very well into my next question. You've had these two arcs in your career. I think you got enough time on the clock to get a third in, Mike.
Now you're calling me Noah.
He only had one arc. You have two. That's the unique thing about you. But you've been been right in the middle of companies scaling successfully, successive acquisitions, blossoming into these large organizations. You've also been in the startup community, and I assume you've seen a lot of stall outs, a lot of failures. You talked about connection to the why as really critical. What are some of the other factors that you've seen? Because you've seen a lot. You look at the wasteland of broken dreams or just companies that haven't made it. What are some other patterns you've noticed?
First, the why. Like when companies know their why, you can see those companies forge new paths. The companies that don't necessarily make it, in my mind, they started out with a vision of their own and didn't necessarily do the research to say, is this problem real? And is it valuable if I fix this problem? And is it a repeatable? Is it going to be repeatable? Is my solution going to be repeatable? So you think about that value, you think about the repeatability, you think about the sustainability in that solution. Lots of people start up companies because they think they have something, and they may have something. It's largely a project, not necessarily a corporation. And so I've seen people just, if the problem's not big enough, you've heard of like TAM, SAM, SUM, right? So that total addressable market.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
The total addressable market, it has to be big. And then the service addressable market has to be somewhere that you can attack and you can go solve. And then the sum is the market that you can solve with your resources.
Yeah.
And so you have to have alignment in that category. And if the problem's not big enough, then it's just a project. And I see a lot of projects that kick off, and you can have a project. I've seen a lot of, when we had Halo Ventures, we talked to a lot of companies, a lot of people that wanted to start up a project. And this is a project. This is not going to be a product. It's a project, not a product. And it's fine to have a project. Take that project to a bigger company like yourself and say, hey, I have this project. What do you think? And then if it works out, you can fold into the bigger companies. So I see just too many companies that are projects, not products. And then those products are just not going to perform in a sustainable market. It's super competitive out there.
I see a lot of situations where companies or even individuals in their careers, they want something, or they'll say they want it, but at the end of the day, they're not really willing to do what it takes to get there, whether it's making the tough decisions or looking honestly at your situation or putting in the reps or whatever. Is that a product of not knowing your why, do you think, or is that something else?
Well, I think people want certain things, and they see in their mind's eye this beautiful opportunity, and they're willing to throw everything in, out of the gate. And so they go all in, and it's like, when I was in college, I know it's hard to think that I can remember what I was like in college, but there would be classes that I was super excited about. I'm like, this is going to be statistics,
Yeah.
It's going to be so exciting. And then, because I was coming out of an econ class, so I'm ready for a statistics class, and I love the math. And so you start that statistics class, and, the first 2 or 3 chapters are super exciting. And then, what happens in that book, they start saying the same thing over and over and over again. It's a derivative of the same, formula or equation. And so it gets a little stale and boring, if you will. And in the businesses that I've been a part of, I used to say that all the time. Like, I like boring. When you're in boring, when it's boring, you're in a good place because you're efficient and you're effective, and you're not fighting crisis, and you're doing what's important, not urgent. So you see a lot of people they're focused on what is urgent and what is important. They're in crisis mode, and they're putting out the fire. Then they get addicted to putting out the fire. And so when the fires go away, now they're not focused on what is important, but not urgent, because they weren't planning. They were just performing. They were reacting.
And what do? They burn it down. They set it on fire.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
when the fire's, there's like, I don't know what to do. Yes. It's a weird thing about human nature, I think.
We create new fires,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
People love that adrenaline rush. But, when you're in a company and it's boring, probably in a good spot.
So you exited RVO Health, took your earn out late last year.
Yes.
And you're thinking about what's next, and you've done some market research, which we were talking about this offline, and it's the reason why we booked you, because you've been doing some interesting stuff since you left, and you're in a position where you can observe and think about what's next and what that next problem is to solve. So tell us about what you've been up to and what you're seeing out there.
What I'm seeing in the market today, and again, I'm just like one small team, so I haven't seen a lot. I am not an AI expert by any stretch. I don't think anybody is an AI expert. If they say they are, it's probably a big stretch. Mm-hmm. I mean, because AI is moving so quickly.
Yeah.
What I've learned, and through real research and being in the field, if you will, when they think or they hear about AI, when I talk to them, they're like, "Oh yeah, I know what AI is." And I'm like, "How do you know what AI is?" Like, what do you know about AI? Well, I've used ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. So, well, yes, ChatGPT, is AI. But think of this as 4 gears. Think of it as like somebody that just started out driving a manual car. Did you start out driving a manual car?
Yes, I had a Subaru 5-speed, not 4, but yeah.
Oh, 5-speed. But go back to the 4, right? So think stick, right? You're in a stick. When you learn to drive a stick shift, you learn to drive, how to pop that clutch. Somebody is teaching you that your father, your mother, your uncle, or your aunt in a field somewhere safe, right? And then they move you from, you can work the clutch, you can get it, from 0 to first gear. And then you go from first gear to second gear, probably in a church parking lot. Mm-hmm. Then you go from first gear, second gear to third gear, in a school parking lot. And then you might go to the highway or the low roads, but you're not going to get on the interstate until you got lots of practice. Mm-hmm. So using ChatGPT, what I've seen is, and it even happened this morning, we were in a Birmingham resource group with a lot of different players, all senior executives. It's a group that we come together and work inside of Hoover and share ideas and concepts. And one was AI. This morning we talked about AI, and people are like, "Oh yeah, I know a lot about AI." Like what? They just know first gear. They know ChatGPT. Mm. They're in the field, working through first gear, asking it questions, doing emails, rewriting emails, polishing emails. Maybe have their own GPT. Mm-hmm. But there's a second gear around workflow, around process, that AI can play a big role in many corporations, all corporations, big or small. And then there's a third gear around product, where you incorporate AI and like a RAG LLM vector setup in your product, where you can make a difference and you can personalize that consumer journey or personalize your workflow. And then the fourth is at the enterprise level, where you've rolled out AI and you have your own LLM RAG vector setup. You're asking questions with natural language processing around your data, and you're making decisions about your business with your data. And you're not just asking, ChatGPT a random question about your favorite sports character or, your politician or news or your email. You're in fourth gear, you're on the interstate, and you're cruising with your data, and you're making big decisions around consumer behavior, around employee behavior, around financials, around your data. And so many companies, and what I've seen in this research, there are so many companies that have used CRM. They've loaded their CRMs, their CDPs, with all this rich data from their sales process and their funnel and their customers, and they have all these help desk data points, and they need to bring them together. And if you bring that together, existing customers are 66% more likely to buy from you than a new customer. So we have all these companies out there chasing new customers, but they're sitting with this rich data in their CRM, their CDP, their ERPs, their HRIS systems that would double, triple, quadruple revenue. Mm-hmm. It's sitting right there. Yeah. And so all they have to do is go from, hey, I know something about ChatGPT. I can pop the clutch, first gear. Getting to fourth gear is the key.
Yeah, that's a long journey too. Well, maybe not. I don't know. What are you seeing specifically in what we call the real economy? So manufacturing, logistics, what are you seeing in terms of adoption, attitudes toward like what state are those types of companies at typically?
Oh, great question. I see light industrial manufacturing in only two phases. They are either operating on just current day operations and they're producing to produce and they're in that routine, or they're really accelerating and they've achieved massive growth. So it's either kind of stale or real high-end growth. And then the companies that have really grown and are growing at an exceptional pace, they're the ones that really need to adopt AI quickly, because AI will do more than just automate their routine tasks.
Where are they at in that journey, though, generally, with AI?
Oh,
okay, so
they're
like,
brand new. They're all in first gear.
That's what you're seeing in manufacturing logistics.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're all in first gear. A lot of these companies, light industrial manufacturing, most of them, they have quite a bit of robotics. So in the actual manufacturing line, I see a lot of robotics and a lot of automation in terms of routine tasks. Tons of automation there. But in the business around their data, they're still working with Power BI and, so I've seen some Access databases in the last 6 months, believe it or not. You've heard of Access, Microsoft Access. Seriously, I've seen several Access databases. Many of them have implemented ERPs. Those ERPs have been around. They need to be upgraded. They need to be updated. They need to be on the latest versions. So the point is they focused on the operation as they should, like the actual product. So they're fine. That's what they should do. That's what I would do. And then the business side, there's a big opportunity to really rev up their opportunity, their automation and their data analysis, on the business side.
Okay. So for the business leaders in the real economy that listen to this show, what are some of the questions they should maybe start asking themselves to kind of prime things for introducing AI into the business?
The first is, are my marketing assets AI compatible? Am I visible? Am I attractive? Am I responsive? Do people know what I produce? Do the right people know what I produce? And then when they do find me, if I'm AI compatible and they find me in the citations of the ChatGPT, Anthropic, Claude, Perplexity search, if they find me and the citations point the consumer to me, am I attractive? So when they come to my website and they're looking for credibility or looking for case studies, are they there? So those case studies need to be there, and that data needs to be there in front of the consumer, the person searching for the solution to their problem. Because a lot of these manufacturers have done it; they have the solution, but people don't know. So first you have to be visible, then you have to be attractive, and then when they show up to your website and they say, "Hey, I'm here," is that journey personalized enough that you can connect to that person when they show up? Because when they show up, they'll show up and then they'll leave. And so it's super important that you respond to that connection when they land on your website. You got to show up and say, I'm right here if you need help. And that's where a lot of the AI chatbots and some of the newer tech makes all the difference. That's the first.
That's the first. Okay. What would be the second? What's the second question to ask?
The second question is, this is all on the business side, like senior leadership.
Yes.
Is the question that I would wake up every single day and ask, what can I automate so that I can spend more time with my customer? What should I automate so that I can spend time with the customer or with prospects? It's a good thing when senior leaders are with prospects and with customers. There's this old term in pragmatic marketing certification. They taught us it's nihito. Nothing important happens in the office.
Yeah, I love that.
For senior leaders, nihito. Nothing important happens in the office.
Yeah.
Lots of important things are in the office. That's not what we're saying. The metaphor is, if you're out in front with the customer and your prospects, then you'll learn what you need to innovate. You'll learn what products you need to create to go grow revenue and drive EBITDA. Those are the two questions. Am I AI compatible? And the second is, what do I need to automate so that I can get back out into the field?
Yeah.
What is dragging me down?
Accomplishing diversity, equality, and inclusion directives can be challenging. Excelsior Staffing, a certified MBE providing staffing solutions for light industrial sectors, has been helping companies like yours find success since 2007. Strengthen your diverse team with Excelsior. ExcelsiorStaffing.com.
I think a lot of leaders experience the same thing I'm experiencing, which is an just avalanche of AI companies reaching out or, trying to engage me on, their product, their AI tool, how they can, and there's an avalanche of that. It's almost like option paralysis. Fortunately, I've got a great CIO with a vision for this, or I could just.
You do, I know him.
Yeah,
he's amazing.
But I know, talking to people, there's almost like a paralysis, like, how do I get started on this? My board or the PE company that owns me, they're like, what are you doing with AI? And
every board's asking that.
I know how to make,
yes.
I know how to process chickens or make auto parts. I'm not, so what do you do? And you've begun to work with companies to kind of help them integrate AI into their operation. So tell us about your process for like getting started. How do you, when you sit down with a leader to get things rolling with AI, to leverage AI, what is your process with them? What does that look like?
Early stage begins with real education. There are a lot of companies, like you say, advertising AI capabilities, and they're probably true. They solve one specific problem, but understanding how the LLM works, how the RAG structure works, how your vector databases work, make a big difference in terms of the art of the possibility. And so CEOs like yourself, you're big picture guys. You're like, oh, I see what I can do. And when you see something that you can do and it makes a difference in your operation, you'll execute on it and you'll do it fast. People just don't know what is possible because there's so much noise and a lot of hype and so forth, right? And having an AI resource on staff. So yes, your CIO is amazing. Know him personally, great guy. He's busy. He's doing a lot of projects for you right now that are very important, vital to the operation. And so having one person, in my mind, dedicated to AI that is not necessarily on the board or a senior leader, but somebody that is there every day working with the entire operation and owns AI and owns the idea, owns the ideation, owns the execution, and can work with, sift through, do the search, do the analysis, and implement what is the right thing for that problem or solution or big opportunity. Just, you got to have somebody dedicated to it.
Okay. So your process, how do you chunk it down? If you were to sit down with me, or even with Rick as our CIO, we're like, okay, Mike, I want you to come in and let's start exploring where we can leverage AI in the operation. What's your process for exploration?
The process for exploration is really beginning with like a maturity assessment. You walk through that maturity assessment in terms of your senior leaders. So believe it or not, in your organization, in most organizations, almost all organizations, AI starts with people. It starts with a person or multiple people that are genuinely interested in AI. So if you think about this maturity assessment, people are interested, that's level one. Then from interest, they actually explore, that's level two. The third is they start piloting, they start little mini projects, right? And you want to move from piloting to implementation level 4, implementing with standards, and then level 5 is profiting from AI. So assessing where your senior leaders are and just asking them, what have you done? See, you are busy yourself. You have a lot on your plate. You have to worry about the vision, the balance sheet, the P&L, et cetera, and all the people. I would say you don't even know like where everyone is. So you just send the assessment out and say, what senior leader, it's down to your senior leaders. It's not all on you, right? So it's a click down, maybe 2 clicks down, and get an idea of where they are. They may be way ahead. They may be
doing stuff you don't realize.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's what I find is that, there are some teams that do nothing, but there are a lot of teams that are at level 3 already. And the CEOs and the COs, they don't know. And then they get real excited. They're like, oh, I didn't know you were doing that.
Yeah.
So, when you say, what is your process? It starts with the assessment and getting a gauge of and a good baseline of where everybody is in the organization in terms of that click down senior leadership. The CEOs do respond to their boards. They absolutely do. The boards are asking, the PE firms are asking, what are you doing? I was in a call this morning and PE's like, hey, I want you to go help this company because they don't have anything going with AI. And we asked the question and they don't know.
Yeah.
Or they're not responding. Well, they're not responding because they don't want to say something that they're going to be held accountable for in the next board meeting. So they want to make sure that they have everything wrapped up and that it is packaged in a way that they're going to look good, look smart, and make some money at the next board meeting.
Yes.
That's a Southern phrase. So everybody wants to look good, look smart, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the first is an assessment. And then once you get that assessment, then you can build a plan for that next phase. And it's so important not to jump from, 1 to 5 or 1 to 3. It's you just work your way through each phase. Go from interested to explore to see what is possible. And from explore, then pilot. And then from pilot to implementation. And people will grow. It's natural. I believe AI is very natural. It's a very natural implementation in the process. Don't force it. And so these SaaS companies that are selling all these AI SaaS utilities, I think are very dangerous because they're inserting AI, as a sliver solution, in the organization. Really dangerous.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, and you've already talked about it, what are some of the mistakes that you see? But I think you alluded to this. I mean, shoehorning AI into the organization, I think, is the mistake. AI right now is most effective when it's a co-intelligence,
Right.
And I think that's the area. AI for the sake of AI is just it's a waste of time.
Yes.
And energy.
Okay. Actually very expensive.
And money. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Not to mention the money. Yeah, no kidding.
Right. That's why I think having an AI dedicated resource on the team for people to go to and to learn from and then move through those levels of maturity.
And you've kind of been working as a fractional AI resource.
Yes.
That's kind of what you've been up to lately while you figure out your next arc.
Yes.
Right? Okay, cool. How do you see AI shaping the workforce, specifically in manufacturing and logistics, food processing over the next 5 years, let's say?
If I was the CEO or the COO, CFO of, one of these companies, I would focus on implementing AI where I could free up my customer-facing resources. That's where I would focus. Most likely, I have automation and robotics built into the manufacturing line, and that's good, that's smart, and the next step for AI is really on this customer-facing front. So where can I free up bandwidth by implementing AI? There are a lot of workflow tools like N8N, Make. There are a ton. N8N is, I think, one of the best. But go in, implement AI there so that you free up that bandwidth of those customer-facing resources. And so now you have AI agents doing the work that your people agents were doing. And now they can get back to the customer in a real way. And, on-site, shoulder to shoulder, working with customers, solving problems. Customers have new problems too.
Yeah.
Their business is evolving. Their markets are shaping. Their markets are evolving quicker than your market. You're in one niche, right? They're in probably serving multiple niches. And so they have to survive or thrive. And so learning what their struggles are becomes an opportunity for you.
Yeah, that's what excites me about it. The opportunity to connect, to be more human, to do more of the things that are uniquely human. That's the thing that's appealing to me about adopting AI in our organization.
I know. I really like that. You call it uniquely human. It's anti-AI. So like the essence of AI, the importance of AI is to become uniquely human. Do the things that, really, really matter. And we've gotten away from that. I see businesses and, on the business side, so far from the customer. They've strayed so far because, they're in their agile process, or they're in their ceremony, or they're running reports, or they're rerunning reports. Yeah. And all that needs to go away because AI can do that. You got to get closer to the customer. One way to get closer to the customer is take the time to implement AI in those customer facing, opportunities.
Yeah. I always get excited about the possibilities when I talk with you. And I bet some of the listeners are kind of feeling the same thing. So how can folks explore a further discussion with you about this stuff if they want to?
Well, they can certainly direct message me on LinkedIn. So I'm on LinkedIn, Mike Oakman. And then second, through you. I'd love for them to come through, this podcast to you, connect to you, which will give you good feedback on the same feedback that I've given you, how wonderful these podcasts are. I thoroughly enjoy, your podcast production, and also being a part of one now has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And
your team is amazing. But that's the best way, right? Just go through LinkedIn, find me, direct message me. I'll connect with you, and I'll certainly give you the credit.
That sounds great. And we are, just full disclosure, or I guess I'm excited about it. We have been working with Mike Austin who leads our tech staffing division. We've been partnering with you to get in the middle of this AI revolution and try to find some solutions and drive value. So yeah, I'm super, super excited about that. So we'll put those connection points into the show notes here. Mike, thanks so much for your time. Great conversation as always. Hopefully the folks enjoyed it as well.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Your team's great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Until next time, keep it real. Thank you for listening. This podcast is powered by Onin, the staffing partner delivering real results for manufacturing, logistics, and food processing companies nationwide. To learn more, visit www.oningroup.com. Until next time, keep it real.